How does opposition work in minor piece endgames? Have you ever wondered how the concept of opposition plays a role in minor piece endgames? While we often associate opposition with king and pawn endgames, it can also be relevant in minor piece scenarios. Let's break it down in a simple way. First, let's define what opposition is. Opposition occurs when two kings face each other on the same rank or file, usually with an odd number of squares between them. The player who does not have to move has the opposition, which often gives them a strategic edge. This is especially useful in king and pawn endgames, where controlling the opposition can force the opponent's king into a weaker position. There are different types of opposition. Direct opposition is when the kings are on the same rank or file, with just one square between them. Distant opposition happens when there are more squares between the kings, but still an odd number. Then there is diagonal opposition, which is when the kings are positioned diagonally with an odd number of squares between them. Now, how does this relate to minor piece endgames? In situations involving bishops or knights, the concept of opposition is not as straightforward. Minor pieces have unique movement capabilities that differ from pawns. However, understanding how to control key squares and limit the opponent's mobility can still be beneficial. For instance, if you can position your minor piece to block the opponent's king or piece while advancing your own king, you might create a situation where the opponent is forced into a disadvantageous position. This is somewhat similar to using opposition to gain an advantage in king and pawn endgames. While opposition itself may not be as critical in minor piece endgames, the strategic principles behind it are still important. Controlling key squares and maneuvering your pieces to limit your opponent's options can lead to a strategic advantage. You can use your minor pieces to support your king's movement and block the opponent's king, effectively creating a situation akin to the advantages gained from opposition in king and pawn endgames. In summary, while opposition is primarily a concept relevant to king and pawn endgames, the strategic principles it involves can be applied to minor piece endgames. Focus on controlling key squares and limiting your opponent's mobility to improve your chances of success.